5 months ago, Saddam Hussein started this cruel war against Kuwait. Tonight, the battle has been joined.
With those words, U.S. President George Herbert Walker Bush staked a place in history. His successful campaign to drive Saddam Hussein from Kuwait was the one-term president's most significant accomplishment. The son of a wealthy Republican U.S. Senator, Bush served in the Second World War and was elected to 2 terms in the U.S. Congress in the 1960s. President Richard Nixon became Bush's mentor, appointing him ambassador to the United Nations in 1970.
I shall resign the presidency effective.
Nixon resigned in disgrace, but Bush, a savvy political survivor, became head of the CIA in 1976. After 8 years as Ronald Reagan's vice president, Bush entered the White House in 1989. After a savagely negative campaign. Less than a year after taking office, Bush sent troops to invade Panama to overthrow Manuel Noriega, a corrupt military ruler who had turned against the U.S.
Saddam was warned over and over again.
The defining moment of Bush's presidency came in August of 1990, when Iraqi tanks rolled into Kuwait. He ordered a massive military buildup, consulted with allies, and worked closely with the United Nations. American forces flooded into Saudi Arabia and established bases, a development that later was cited by Osama bin Laden to justify attacks against the U.S. Once underway, the war did not last long. Iraqi forces fled Kuwait in a panicked retreat, but Bush refused to order an advance toward Baghdad, opting not to topple Saddam. In the aftermath of the war, Bush's popularity quickly began to fade. One pledge came to define and haunt his re-election.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
That pledge broken and his chances hurt by a viable third-party candidate, he was defeated by Bill Clinton in 1992. But before leaving office, Bush ordered one last military adventure, invading Somalia to end a famine. That invasion sparked a guerrilla conflict. With mounting U.S. casualties, President Clinton hastily pulled out the troops. Radicals came to believe America was afraid to fight. In retirement, Bush nurtured the political careers of his sons, George W. and Jeb. But when George W. became president in 2000, he kept the elder Bush at arm's length, publicly making it clear he wasn't seeking his father's advice. Bush's final years were devoted to charitable works, teaming up with his former rival, Bill Clinton, to raise tens of millions of dollars for victims of the Indian Ocean tsunami and later Hurricane Katrina. Out of office, he was a much more popular president than his son, honored by the U.S. Navy with an aircraft carrier named after him. Awarded the nation's highest civilian medal by President Barack Obama. In his final years, he was occasionally hospitalized for breathing issues. He told his granddaughter in a television interview he didn't fear death, but spoke emotionally, reading a letter to his family.
Remember the old song, I'll be there ready when you are? Well, I'll be there ready when you are, for there's so much excitement ahead, so many grandkids to watch grow. If you need me, I'm here. Devotedly. Devotedly. Dad.
He said he didn't worry about his legacy. That would be for others to take up. And many of his actions in Iraq, Somalia, and Saudi Arabia had fateful consequences that unfolded years later.
The war is over.
With the benefit of hindsight, historians will now debate how well George Bush served his nation and the world.